What's up, y'all? We are back for another live stream. Now, last week, um, shout out to Paul. Well, not really. Well, yeah, shout out to him, but not shout out to him because he was supposed to do my live stream. He couldn't do it last minute. And I said, you know what? Everything out at the time was kind of boring anyway. But I had been consistent because I had been going for 4 weeks straight. So shout out to me. All right. And I know what you're thinking. Where the last 3 weeks before you skipped a week, it was on Tuesday. Yeah. Well, guess what? We back on Mondays now. Still not the official time. The official time is 6:30, but things happen. It's life. Now, when I move into doing something else a little more consistent with the live stream, just know that's gonna be whatever time that is sharp every single time. But with these, it's like I'm gonna get back serious with them, but at least I'm doing them because I had stopped for a long time, but I forgot how much engagement these bring. If you wonder what I'm looking at, I'm trying to close something out on my other computer because I have two computers open like Wade off Kim Possible all day long. So yeah. But is it closed? Oh. They want too much. All right. So today's episode is going to be great to live stream. This episode features my guy. I'm not going to let him introduce himself, but I actually met him officially on their podcast a few weeks ago. And I was just like, you know what? I needed some people to jump on here with my stuff anyway. So I'm like, let's just do it like this. And when I saw he checked out the episode, I said, okay, well, I ain't even got to ask him to listen because I already did. So let me go ahead and introduce my guest and let's get started with that today. My God, what is going on?
Man, all good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going. Like I said, I just got a fire episode that's going to drop in a few weeks that I just recorded. And before this, same outfit and all. But by the time they see this outfit again, it'll be several weeks, so they won't even know.
Yeah.
Anyway, can you tell the people what's your name? Because it's going to audio platforms as well. What's your name? Where you from? And where do you live now?
Man, the one and only, the only one, DJ No Name, on behalf of the HL podcast. I am residing in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was born here and I was raised in Dallas, Texas, Grand Prairie to be exact.
Okay. So how did you get to where you are now?
So how I got here, I was born here. I was raised in Dallas.
Raised in Dallas. Got it.
Yep. And in Dallas, I was trying to get back on my feet. So when I came back to Tulsa, I ended up doing stuff down here that I wasn't in Dallas. So I was doing photography and DJing. And then once I saw that, just decided to stay put. And I've been back here since 2011. So been back for 14 years.
Okay. And you are part of the HL podcast. So
Yes,
how
indeed.
did you get a part of that? And how has that been going for you with that?
Well, it's kind of like the same situation was going on right now. I was just supporting. I was always interacting on the live streams. I was always like hitting them up after the fact. And then they just wanted me to join. I was down and it just went from there. So I think we're like 4 episodes in as far as me being officially part of the crew. So yeah, that's how it went. And then the homie Des, I've been knowing him for a minute. So it just all meshed and worked together well.
And that's how it be. Sometimes you just come up on stuff just showing up. You just never know what showing up would do.
Exactly.
Speaking of showing up, let's get into kind of just my most recent episode of the podcast. Now, did you get a chance to check it out? Season 9, episode 25 with Jesse.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Okay. So a little bit backstory before I start asking questions. So Jesse was actually on 2 weeks prior. I don't know if you saw that with the episode about tricking. I met her and a group of the people. If you haven't checked, go check that one out. That was actually a really good one. And we were in Atlanta, and I met all of them at Podfest and this year in Orlando. So I don't know if you've ever been to any podcast convention festival, anything like that, but that's the one I suggest people go to. And it's every January. So that's hint, hint, wink, wink.
Got it.
And so I've seen them several times this year, and we were in Atlanta, and I wanted to do an episode about tricking and mental health, and I made it work. And I feel like if we doing it in Atlanta, it makes sense because
Yeah.
I feel like Atlanta #1, Houston #2. But
Mm.
going back to this week's episode, I had an idea about something, and I forgot my inspirations that I said for the episode because we recorded it a while ago. But I was just like, can men and women truly be friends? And I say yes, she say yes. There are many people that do, and some people still on the fence about it. But I personally think that, as I said in the episode, that it could, a lot of the time it's a lust issue. And when you look at everybody with that, oh, I want this, I want that, it's kind of
Mhm.
hard. So based on, tell me what you liked about the episode, what maybe made you side eye, and anything you may have would have liked to go more in depth with conversation wise.
It was nothing about that episode that necessarily made me side eye. It wasn't. It was something that I usually don't hear in depth often. So that's what really caught my attention, and I just
Okay.
really enjoyed like the whole episode, like just thoroughly. And this was like I haven't listened to the one about tricking, but I heard when it was mentioned on the episode too, so I'll definitely go back to that one. But I was like, nah, it was nothing that necessarily made me side eye or anything like that. I just thoroughly enjoyed like the whole episode.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, it's funny because so many people reached out. And that's what I had to get back to with this season. And really, the last few, especially this one, getting back to those more relatable. Not saying I lost it, but really those are full relatable conversations, because that's what I feel like got me the momentum it did back in the day, which I kind of fell
Mm.
off a little bit. But you know. So many people was like, oh, they tuned in just because they want to hear about it, because it is like a can we do it? So many
Yeah,
people
yeah.
talk about getting married, and then it's like, or being in relationships. Have you ever been married before? Are you married now?
I've been married before, but I'm not
Okay.
married. I'm in a relationship, but I've been married before.
Okay. So has that ever, let's ask you, has there ever been an issue where you had maybe homegirls, and the wife or the girlfriend was kind of like side eyeing the friends, or was it kind of awkward, anything like that? Or did they have homeboys and you was kind of like, you know,
Yeah, it was definitely. I had a lot of lady friends during that time, and it was definitely issues here and there. It wasn't something that was how can I put it? It wasn't something that was like second nature. It's like it just couldn't happen at all. It was just some undertone, and looking back at it, it was just communication, and
mm,
there wasn't a lot of communication going on. Something that needed to improve, and looking back at it, like so far gone later, yeah, it was more of a communication thing. Cause I've had a heavy amount of female friends for the longest, like for as long as I can remember. So yeah, and like I said, the whole episode I can definitely relate to.
okay, yeah, and definitely, I think this generation is doing something a little different, because, like I said, a lot of the older generation were kind of like, oh, I've heard them say, there's no point of men and women just being friends. There's no point unless,
Mm. Oh yeah.
unless that's your cousin, your sister, unless this girl is like putting you on her friends. I would hear them say things that there is no point, and I'll be like,
Mm.
you know, and
Yeah.
I'm growing up fat and ugly. I think I mentioned in the episode, so
Mm.
I didn't have a choice. I don't think, but at the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
so it was just interesting to hear. But okay, well, like I said, we don't have to harp too much on the episode, because, like I said, you pretty much agree with a lot of things I was there. But if y'all haven't checked it out, please go check it out. It is on every platform, YouTube, and then of course every audio platform that podcast can be heard on. All right, so now let's jump into the first topic for the day. It's the holiday season,
Mm.
and some things has happened. I got this from Baller Alert, so we're gonna look at this, and then we're just gonna kind of tap into it. All right.
Mm.
So UPS just laid off 48,000 people like it's nothing. I like whoever gave that title, because that's funny. Not that this is funny, but just the title is funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so UPS has officially confirmed a massive wave of layoffs, cutting nearly 48,000 jobs in 2025 as part of ongoing restructuring effort aimed at saving money and boosting profits. The cuts include management positions and warehouse roles, making one of the largest workforce reductions in the company's history. According to the reports from the Associated Press, the layoffs have been happening throughout the year, not all at once, as UPS adjusts to lower shipping volumes and a post-pandemic slowdown in e-commerce. The company said to be losing more than 90,000 facilities nationwide, reorganizing its delivery network to streamline operations. Um, they said it was made to keep the business strong. And as the holidays come up, you see somebody here. We're gonna get into this boycott Black Friday, Christmas. Y'all make this year about experiences and sharing time with loved ones. But we're seeing a lot of these jobs have been laying off people, and as a man that can be a lot. So what does this have to do with mental health? We know this is the study of how we act, think, and feel. For me, as somebody who was laid off, technically my last job as an
Mm.
educator, the school closed down, which we all know in education that never happens.
Mm.
And I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but it was just like, I know what that's like to be thinking something's guaranteed and it's not. And for them to lay them off during the holiday season, you know, that can lead anybody into any depression, any sadness, any grief, especially again as a man, because it's like you to provide you this, that this may be your only stream of income. You know, what's your take on it?
That's exactly what it is. Like, man, like, just imagine being like the man of a house, just being a provider, this, that, and the third, and then you don't have a, like you said, a stream of income or something like that. And it's very pivotal, especially during the holiday season. And lately when it comes to jobs like this, I automatically think of AI. So I
Yeah,
think AI thing, like taking that's what I think of instantly. And then, hearing what you read, it was just like, wow, like I don't know. A lot of that doesn't add up with, it being holiday season and, the things that go around. So with that, UPS getting hit like that, that's wild.
yeah. I think that in this situation, you know, and I keep coming back to this. I don't know whose word this is for, but if we studying how we act, think, and feel, I believe that these things are happening. You know, we can go into the worldly sector of it, which is bad people and people in higher up don't care about the lower people, so they just doing anything to save money and all that good stuff. And
Mm,
although that still could be, because two things can be true at the same time, I think it's just more proof that people need to really invest in not just saving and crypto and all that good stuff, right? But
mm,
really need to invest in a skill set and
mm,
investing in
mm,
monetizing something. And I think so many people. So let's, before I even continue, let's go into the next segment, which for this is WWID. What would I do in this situation? So for me, and hopefully this is a message for somebody. For me, it forced me to boss up in what I was making money in, because
mm,
sometimes, as I discussed with an episode that we just recorded, which won't drop for a few weeks, but what we discussed was that, you know, this person, you know, really monetize their social media, and they really, you know, but also I'm a firm believer, like I said in that episode, that crisis produces, you know, a new version of you that wouldn't have been seen in comfort. You know, if you
mm.
don't have no kids, and this man, who's on the podcast, he had 4 kids, 5 on the way, well, one on the way, not 5 on the way, one on the way, married. You know, he said 45K a year. That ain't bad, but that ain't good. Like if
Yeah,
you, with all that you know got going on. So
right.
he was just like, he really pushed him and forced him to boss up. And I think sometimes people won't boss up all the way until they're forced to,
Mm,
especially a man. And I think that in this situation, these situations, I believe God is allowing this to force people to boss up and to do what they are called to do,
for sure.
whatever that is.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And so many people get stuck in comfort. Let's talk about that. So being comfortable. Do you feel like at this point in life you may be a little too comfortable?
Absolutely. And man, that's a very good question, and that's a dangerous zone to be in. And I never want to be too comfortable or just be stagnant or anything like that. And if you get into that mind frame with anything, especially in this time of day, like you can't afford just to be comfortable just because of what's going around and what needs to be taken care of. So that's definitely refreshing to hear what you just said, and to ask that, to bring that back to reality, like, yo, you need to snap out of it.
In my case, you know, like I tell people all the time, I've been full-time entrepreneur. I guess I say technically since August 2023. It technically was May, but I say August 2023 because that's when the teaching check stopped.
Mm,
And so, because you know they pay us through the summer.
yeah.
And so for me, I feel like when I did say, okay, I'm full-time entrepreneur, this is what it is. There have been moments where I tried to go back to, you know, they say in the Bible, you go back to Egypt. You're trying to go back to comfort. You're trying to go back to, you know, money. Looking this, I need benefits. I want a consistent check.
Mm,
Tried to go back. What happens when God won't let you? Because I tried to go back, and then, you know, and also my resumes is pressure. So that I do for people as well, not just myself. And
mm,
so I'm doing these resumes, I'm getting people these jobs, these increases, but then I can't get that for myself, because then I'm getting to the final round. In some cases, most won't even get to the second round. But when I get to find around in several jobs, thinking you got it. We went with somebody else.
Mm,
We went with somebody else. No, we never mind. We went with somebody else. WWJD, what would Jesus do?
mm,
So in this case, praying God's will is dangerous because when you pray God's will, as even if we know seen in the Bible or read in the Bible, or if you wish you watch the Passion of the Christ or any other Jesus movie, right? He asks basically, could God basically take away, like he, basically in so many words, didn't want to die on the cross,
mm.
but he still prayed God's perfect will and God's perfect, so he still died on the cross.
Right.
And so I think when we're trying to do things God's way, it's not going to always make sense and it's not always easy. So with that, and we talked about comfort, and no matter what this situation is, you always have to pray God's perfect will. But especially in the situation with UPS, and I'm gonna just keep reiterating, I really believe we have to look at. I don't believe in coincidences, and I just really believe there's something everybody can monetize.
Mm,
People are like, oh, I just want to have hobbies. I get that, but you're also saying you're going to be rich. You're not going to be rich with that one job. I don't care if they pay you
mm.
$100K a year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
You
course.
still won't. It may feel like you rich, but in the moments. But what is it that you do for a living?
So I'm a store manager at a sneaker boutique, and then I also do photography and I also do DJing. So those are my three primary sources of income right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you live on camera. You ain't start the YouTube channel for the shoes yet?
No, I didn't.
Do you want to?
Absolutely.
I don't know. You got the background set up. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just you got some stuff going on clearly, but so that's good, multiple. But at the same time, I don't know them shoes. I mean, because it's never gonna run out. Because it's so funny. Because like my mom, I was watching some shoe videos one time when I was at back in my mama's house during I think Christmas time one year, and she was just like, I just don't understand the fascination with tennis shoes. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't for you, but it's
Yeah.
for many people, many people.
Yeah.
And it's just some about it. Like even different, like I'll watch different people's reviews on the same shoe.
Same here. Yep.
So it's like, and that's something that you'll, even until the views don't get where you want them to be, you're gonna still do it anyway because you were gonna buy shoes and review them anyway. You might
Right.
not have always done it on camera, but you were gonna do it anyway.
Exactly.
So it's just like that's why I'm really big on monetizing something you're gonna do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You gonna do. People so critical of food. You
Mm.
give me your critiques, like, and what I hate, what I hate to see? I hate to see people who have great content and they only post it in their stories on Instagram. I can't help but to believe that's a form of fear.
That's me right there. I'm a story poster.
And you won't post it on a regular page.
Right. And a majority of the times, like especially the past year or two, a majority of posts that you see on my Instagram page are collaboration posts.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times, going to the final segment for the final topic, WSMD, what should men do? I think that, as I said in episodes prior, we always need to know how to pivot. And what I encourage everybody to do, especially every man, is to don't have to be in a position. I mean, sometimes we have some guy was going to force you to. Don't be in a position where I was basically forced to boss up because it was like
Mm-hmm.
once it got cut off and I tried to go back, it won't let me back. So it's like I'm forced to make something work out of nothing. You're a store manager at a sneaker store that's on brand for you. I had somebody on my podcast. Was it last season? I think it was early last season, and Kalichi, he's like he always viral with his shoe post on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. And he has his own sneaker restoration service. So he like brings shoes back to life, and he'll tell people instead of y'all buying the same shoe over and over again, they literally do surgery on shoes.
Mm.
And so, I think that there's a market for everything.
For
And I
sure.
know for a fact that I just tell people don't lose your job to have to get into it. Some people that's what they have to take.
Right.
But don't have to lose everything for it to finally have to get there. Do it while you got it
For
if you can.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Anything else you want to add to the UPS thing before we move to the final topic?
Ooh, uh, man, stop, chill with the layoffs. Let people get their 9 to 5. It's more critical than ever right now.
And so many places are laying people off. And like I said, during the holiday season,
Yeah,
it's almost like it's a setup for seasonal depression.
1,000,000%.
Because people have no choice but to be depressed. You done lost your job around the holidays. You done got kids, and now you can't get them stuff, and you might have wanted something for yourself, and now it's like you can't even get it because it's a lot. It's
Yeah,
it's
yes,
definitely a lot,
yeah.
and yeah. All right, so let's move to the final topic for the day, which centers around somebody who kind of stays in the media a little bit.
Mm,
Pastor Jamal Bryant paused his church offerings to feed families during government shutdown. He says he is shifting the focus at New Birth Church in Georgia for ties to tangible help. As the government shutdown continues to affect families across the country, he announced that his congregation will skip monetary offerings for the entire month of November. Instead, he's asking members to bring canned goods to support the church's King Tables food drive. We have a responsibility, said in his sermon on Sunday. Our history is going to record that the president is the very first president in American history to starve his own citizens. On November 1st, SNAP benefits are cut in the country, impacting 42 million Americans. That is, ladies and gentlemen, 1 out of every 7 people. 1 out of every 7 people in the room is on food assistance. 1 out of every 7 people who are watching online are. He said, we're going to perform miracles while the government is shut down. Every Sunday in November, bring canned food items to church, clean out your cupboards, go to the supermarket. Just, he said, Publix, Costco, Walmart, just don't go to Target. He joked. Okay, so I have actually a lot to say. Let's get to the first part, which is what does this have to do with mental health?
mm,
So, study of how we act, think, and feel. So, Pastor Jamal Bryant catches a lot of hell. And he is definitely somebody who is definitely, looked at a certain way.
mm,
What I will say is, obviously you helping out the less fortunate. We can never say nothing's wrong with that, right? We can never say nothing's wrong with you helping out the less fortunate. You know, I do know he was the one that called for people to fast against Target and to stop shopping at Target.
mm.
And even he joked in that message talking about some get your stuff from all the grocery stores, but don't get it from Target. And I know it's a joke, even though he's serious, but it's just kind of like, okay. Okay, how I want to word this. Because I'm all for your beliefs and all of that, but it
Mhm.
seems though sometimes when a pastor is trying to sway somebody politically, to me, that's a little, you know,
Mm,
that's a little like, eh. And also when he made the comment about that Donald Trump was going to be the first president to starve his citizens, in American history, because we know he has a strong disdain for Donald Trump, as
mm.
do many black people, right? When we a study of how we act, think, and feel, as I don't know your views on Jamal Bryant or any pastor per se, but do you feel as though this is really genuine, what he's doing?
Oh, it's shaky when it comes to this stuff because I was literally watching. Speaking of sneakers, I watch this sneaker podcast on the regular, just like a refresher to keep information. And one of the main hosts was like, "I never want to pass judgment on a good gesture." But the co-host was like, "Nah, I'm going to judge it. I'm gonna base on how it feels." So it's like, man, with stuff like that, it's so shaky because with that situation, you're trying to provide for the people, but like you said, you throw those little darts in there. It's like, well, what did that have to do with that when you're just trying to do this? So it's like, man, with me personally, I'm real big on instinct and like acting on it, like your gut.
Yeah.
And man, just when it comes to pastors, like just pastors alone, I don't know, it's just shaky. It's like sometimes I just really can't call unless it's just so quote unquote obvious to me. But it's like I would want to say it's genuine, especially with a situation like this with food security. I would hope it was genuine.
Well, the beautiful thing about pastors and just the way the world is, you always we judge people by their fruit. So usually, no matter how they try to hide it, and especially in this world, it's always gonna come out.
Mm,
And what I love about my church is I don't have to worry about that. I ain't got to worry about none of that. Like I said, it ain't even because I go to a small church, because I'm not saying every mega church is demonic. A lot of
right,
them are, unfortunately.
right.
But some would have, I know, So with him, and he comes under fire. You seen somebody make the little joke under the thing talking about let that man not have as many holes as he wants. It's like, y'all see, I gotta chill. But
Yeah.
and I would never, even if I just a lot of things that he does to me is very, I just want to judge the situation, but it just sometimes it's like
Mm,
WWID, what would I do in this situation? So if I had the means to give to the less fortunate, we're gonna switch the narrative here. Let's not switch the narrative. I had the means to give to the less fortunate, and I'm making this about that. I think sometimes, even as a jokes to myself, and I make jokes out of terms sometimes, so I get his comment, when he make,
mm,
because I've done something like that before. We have to watch the jokes that we make in these kind of serious crisis situations, because it is, like I said, you do have a great gesture. We can't shake that, but it is kind of like, bro, come on, don't bring politics in this, because
mm-hmm,
not
mm-hmm,
saying that the church shouldn't have their own views politically,
right.
but when you're moving into swaying people one way, that's when I'm kind of like, it don't matter what side to
Yeah.
me.
Right. Right. Right.
It doesn't matter. I just felt like that was just like, because I don't know if you've kept up with him, even know who he is, but he was going on a whole thing when Donald Trump was president, telling people like to boycott the inauguration and don't watch, and it was just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you are entitled to have your opinion for sure, but again, when you're swaying people politically, it's kind of like, I just as a pastor, I just think that's a little, pushing it.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
when it comes to me and what I believe and things in my platforms, I'm all for opening the door for the conversation. And like I said, if I'm doing a gesture that's to help people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to limit my personal vendetta against other things out of it as much as I can. It really more so, and now, like I said, with him, I can relate because I've done it too. Just watching ill-timed jokes, because
Mm.
it could just, what's your take on that?
Yo, so that's the thing, because I'm a real big person on there's a truth in every joke, and there's a
Yeah.
reason why you so comfortable to say it. So it's just like that. Like it's like I can understand and have an idea why any individual would say, or in that situation, it was just like, nah, it's really not the time. Like, keep that off camera, keep that off record at least. But just putting it out there like that to individuals who pay attention, someone like yourself to bring it to attention, is like, nah, just chill. Like for right now, just leave that for later.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Next segment, WWJD, what would Jesus do in this situation? I believe that, not necessarily me, because I don't, but I do believe that sometimes that people, as we talked about, or as I talked about, I think it was the last live stream when I talked about Funky Dineva calling out Stephen A. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where people can do healthy rebukes. And even going back to that, I remember saying, like, Funky, although I agree with his stance on it, it
Mm-hmm.
was still, and some people in my comments was like, the jokes were still accurate. I
Yeah.
mean, I hear what you're saying, they were funny, but the issue is it takes away from your message when you add those jokes with it, because it just does, because now you're trying to roast this man. It's like, okay, look, even though it's funny,
Yeah.
it's not helping the case.
Right.
Now, in the case of this situation, and what would Jesus do? I believe that obviously Jesus wouldn't tell you do nothing to make a joke with it, but I think that the ethically and morally correct thing to do here is, they can say, ultimately what he is doing is good for the community. We're gonna pause tithing, because a lot of people already feel like that's a scam in itself, which
Mm.
I have controversial views compared to the masses. I know people think it's a scam. I gave my public testimony of what happened when I when I tithe regularly into something that happened that didn't make sense and something that came out of thin air. So I'm different than most people, but I get why people think it's a scam because a lot of scammers out here. It is what it
Yeah,
is. You know, it's kind of like the whole police thing. Do I think all police are bad? Absolutely not. However, police get behind me, I'm gonna get nervous.
for
I'm
sure.
just saying, I'm just aware.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's been times I ain't gonna lie, I've been pulled over and the police was so cool. And it was just like, dang, like, you know, they ain't, which it said that's why I'm like, they ain't all bad, but I'm
right.
still gonna be because of the masses be a little, you know, skeptical. So there's nothing wrong being skeptical. So again, I just think ethically, morally, we just need to be aware of what we're saying and doing, you know, and making sure that everything we do is going to be judged. So it's more so just, are you doing it with the right intentions? Because if you aren't, it will come out. And what's your stance on that?
Ooh, yeah, it will come out for sure. So yeah, just let it be known right then and there. Just yeah, I mean I can't even add on to that because that's my stance right there. It's gonna come out. So I mean it's gonna come to light. So you might as well bring it out to light before it comes out to light for sure.
Now, WSMD, what should men do in this situation? So in this situation, I want you to take it. What do you think men should do in a situation where they're trying to do, let's say, a good gesture, and they want to do a good gesture for the community, and maybe they, you know, they feel very strongly about something because, like, he feels very strongly about, you know, Donald Trump, and a lot of people do. But well, what's your take on that?
I think you just have to lead by example and you have to be consistent because we're in an era like you have to put it in their face. You can't just say it, you have to actually do it. And
Yeah,
then you have to be very consistent on top of it because people are paying attention more than ever on top of that when it comes to things like that too. So as long as you got the digital footprint, the backing, just be consistent, be intentional, and just be just stand by what you do in a positive way as much as possible.
definitely, I agree. And ultimately, like I said, lead by example. But I like that because sometimes when we let our flesh, we all do it, pettiness take over a little bit. And then as a pastor, people think that that's okay to do. You know
Mm,
what I mean? So it's like when he gets to be in some of these pastors, I think I'm just blaming on him get to being a little too petty. It's
yeah.
like, all right, now is this a healthy rebuke or you just being petty? Funky Dineva is not a pastor, so it
Mm,
is what it is.
mm,
When you're a pastor, you have a different, you know, there's a higher standard, similar to, you know, taking it back to me when I was a teacher. It's certain things that, granted, my social media was never bad, but like for those people who, like, I know a guy, he's a podcaster, but he also is a teacher. He has a late night podcast that we talk about all types of vulgar, you know, stuff. And I
mm-hmm,
think he had got in trouble at his job. You lead
mm,
by example because we live in the information age. You dealing with kids, you know, you in the spotlight, that ain't a good look.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like we have to just be a little more aware. Not saying he's not, but I'm just saying we just have to, you know, we just have to just do things a little differently.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Um. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that? Anything else you got coming up that you want to promote? Anything?
I just thank you for putting me on your platform. Like I said, I've been rocking with it ever since I found out Rock was a special guest, and then I've been following ever since, and I'm going to continue to do so. I would put out there that I've done a collaboration with a representative out of OU, where we are highlighting Black filmmakers, and we're going to do a film festival down here at Circle Cinema this Saturday, and that's one of the bigger things that's happening to me right now for this year. You know, we got another month left, but yeah, that's one of the biggest projects I've been looking forward to. It's something I've been working on with them for like a year and a half now, so it's finally coming to light.
Okay, that's good to know. That's really good. I wish I could come to that because that'll be definitely interesting to check out.
Yeah, for sure.
I was about to say. So for everybody tuning in, so this week's episode, actually, just go ahead and just preface y'all now with that. This week's episode and next week's episode are both going to be solo episodes. This week's episode is going to be the beginning of a case study that I won't necessarily do every week. It'll be like one this week. I might do another one 2 weeks from now. And I do finish the episode 3, season 10. But it's going to be titled The Curious Case of, it's a new underlying series under the podcast called The Curious Case. And this first episode is going to be called The Curious Case of the Hypersensitive Sassy Man. And I'm going in depth about some things, just giving a quick little background. Most people don't know I've been blocked by more men in the last year than women. I think only one woman blocked me. And some of the reasons go as far as politics to associations. So, and we're gonna unpack that. Of course, we're gonna laugh. Of course, we're gonna joke. That's what I do. But it will be some seriousness to it and some research things that I found. So yeah, tune into that. This Thursday. Thank you again for joining me for this Mental Man Monday live stream. Sure. And again, you can come back anytime. So PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And always remember, I love us for real.